Okay, this video is about the tiered vocabulary protocol that we learned in LETRS Volume 2 in the spring of 2020. This is a quick run-through of this protocol, which the goal is to prepare a text and your students for better comprehension and retention by pre-teaching select vocabulary. This is going to help you apply a rubric to prioritize particular words that kids need to understand and hopefully prime them to understand text better. So what is it? A research-supported method for selecting vocabulary to pre-teach and teach in situ rather than relying on packaged vocab or primer materials. Because as you likely know, what comes in Read 180 or System 44 or the ELA modules is almost never one-to-one with what students need. They often need much more vocabulary than is taught. It's also a student-sensitive model for preparing all students to read and comprehend a complex text by priming that background knowledge. You know your students better than anybody else. You know, if you're listening to them, what words they're going to need. After some practice, you'll get pretty good at sussing out which words they're going to need to review. And an effective way to teach and improve retention of vocabulary. I really like this model. I've been using it. I've seen a lot of success. This is the overview. Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, moving from least complex and the lowest priority to Tier 2, which is not necessarily the most complex, but the highest priority, and Tier 3, which is the most complex, but again, they're not critical to their learning, and so you don't need to spend a lot of time on these words. I'm going to break this down just a little bit, going quick to keep this under 5 minutes. So Tier 1 vocabulary are common words commonly encountered in speech and text. Examples would include color, tomato, car, sun, person, running, although that can be a multiple meaning word. The strategy to apply for words like this is to monitor their comprehension. Define them if a student asks, but otherwise, we're not prioritizing these words because the expectation is they already know. Tier 2 vocabulary is critical and challenging words. These are words with multiple meanings, uncommonly encountered words, or key content area vocabulary. This protocol is not about abandoning your content area vocab, not at all, but about prioritizing it. Examples would include Congress, evaporate, multiply, discriminate. That's a multiple meaning word as well. You'd probably want to describe that to students. And the strategy here is to pre-teach for comprehension. So when you pre-read the text to prepare it, you'd be marking these words out, saying this is a Tier 2 word because they need to know this to understand the lesson, or I think it's going to throw them off, and you would pre-teach it. Tier 3 vocabulary is non-critical content words. So it's content area specific vocab, but not critical to the lesson or text. If a student doesn't know this word, they should still be able to do your lesson and complete whatever assessment that you have. Examples might include integer, manorial, agrarian, quiescent, and extrapolate. Strategy here is to just explain them in situ for comprehension. So this is an example of how I pre-teach my Tier 2 vocabulary words. I have a slide prepared before we read, and since we're virtual, I just show them the slide. So I read it. Challenge, that's a noun. That's something that is in the way of what you want. Effort, well, in this case, it's a noun. Physical or mental work. Focus, mindset, perseverance, strategy. You want to keep it to 6 to 8 words, no more. It's going to take up too much time otherwise, and they're not going to remember all of them. You want to keep it short and focused on what is critical to understanding this text. This is how I pre-teach my Tier 2 words. If we're reading and we hit a word like quiescent or agrarian or something, then I'll just stop and say, that also means like a farmer, or quiescent means to be quiet. Okay? That's how you explain your Tier 3 words. It's the Tier 2 words that you would provide. And I put this slide up on Canvas in order to provide students with the review material. So if they are going back through the text, one would hope, they can just check this out. The takeaway is that by prioritizing vocabulary systematically, you can prepare students to comprehend and support semantic development. That's what we want. We want them to comprehend and to take away a complete idea of what the text was about, and we want to support their semantic development, which will in turn make learning future vocabulary easier. Okay? Pretty simple. I do it. It takes me about 5 to 10 minutes depending on the text to prepare it, and then I have those and I can adjust it based on the data that I see coming from the kids. Give it a shot. Let me know how it works, and if you have any questions, pop down to my room and I'll help you out.